September already? That means it's time to pitch some brands for some sponsorships. Let's dive in. So the first brand is an app, and they partnered with food creator Everything Delish to share how you can get the viral baked feta pasta recipe on their app. The app is called Flavors. Do you guys remember this recipe, by the way? My wife and I actually tried it. I'm not going to comment on whether we thought it was good or not, but this is an interesting observation for this campaign in particular because, brands love doing this type of thing. If there's some cultural moment, right, a recipe everyone's talking about, or maybe some sort of celebrity gossip or something happening in the world, and the brand thinks, how can we inject ourselves into the conversation, right? And so for this Flavors app, they think, okay, we have an app that has recipes. Okay, everyone's talking about this viral recipe. How can we get that onto our app as soon as possible? So whether they're licensing that recipe from the original creator, or they're somehow just doing their own spin on it in a way that does not require them to license it, this should be where your mind goes. Is like, okay, in my niche, in my vertical, is there some sort of seasonal or especially around this is the holidays that this creator did this partnership last December, and so this is something I talk about a lot, which is like, okay, going back and looking last year, like what was going on, in the brand's world last year? Can I reach out and pitch them something similar? Or maybe there's some sort of quick turnaround time. Maybe there's something going viral right now, and I can reach out and say, hey, I can actually, inject your brand story into this moment very quickly. Because remember, a lot of brands don't have the agility to do stuff like this, right? It goes through endless rounds of approval through legal, and there's all these layers. And so if you can come and reach out to them and say, hey, I can turn around a video like this so that you're relevant in this moment. I could turn it around in 3 days, get this thing posted. Sometimes they may engage in that conversation. So the next brand is a non-alcoholic tequila, and they partnered with creators Hanging with the Hamiltons for a video called Who Won Our At-Home Date Challenge. I am fairly sure that this is the couple from Love is Blind. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it is when I was doing this research. And so I went through and clicked through to Ritual Zero Proof, which is the brand. And there's a very interesting thing that I noticed on here, which is that their kind of whole shtick is cutting calories, training harder, sleeping better. It talks about how it's great for parents, and you can crush tomorrow, hangover free, all these types of things. And so, this partnership with the Hamiltons went live on January 4th. Why do you think the brand did this? January 4th, what happens right around that time? Everyone's making New Year's resolutions, right? And so one angle, if you were to reach out and pitch Ritual Zero Proof, is, hey, my audience, maybe you're a food creator or a lifestyle creator, maybe you're a productivity or habits-based creator. You could say, my audience is really into this type of thing, making resolutions for the new year. Would love to talk about how your product fits into that narrative, similar to this partnership that you did with the Hamiltons. Again, brands are right now in September, starting to think about how they can, capture, the fact that everyone is in this mindset around this time of the year, and especially people are at home, right? Still during the holidays, there's that 3-week period around mid-December to mid-January, basically, where everyone's at home. And so how can we convince this brand that you're a good candidate to continue to, talk about the value of their product during this time of the year? The next brand is a consumer electronics company, and they partnered with creator Linus Tech Tips to talk about the fact that their latest laptop is actually slower than previous generations. And you might be thinking, what the heck? Don't brands only want creators to give them glowing testimonials about their newest products? Well, brand Asus actually took a different approach here. Because their new laptop is actually intentionally slower because they were able to make other improvements to other areas of the laptop other than the processor, right? And so this is actually, if you were to reach out to Asus, one of the things you could talk about was hey, I actually loved that you leaned into a perceived deficiency of the product, because that actually builds trust with the audience, because people are thinking, wow, a brand actually was cool with the creator saying that. And so were you to reach out to them, you could say, hey, I would love to do a similar spin on this video that you did with Linus on my channel. And so any other creators watching this to think, how does this apply to my own niche? It's a similar thing. You could even send them this video and say, hey, when you can lean into the elephant in the room about your product and say, hey, I know that everyone thinks X, but there's a reason that the brand did X with this product. It's because A, B, C, Y, all these other advantages, they were able to focus on because that they acknowledge that they couldn't achieve this thing that everyone thinks you need, right? Like with laptops, it's like, oh, everyone thinks they need the fastest supercomputer, and then what do people do? They like surf the web and check email, right? Do you really need that, right? When in reality, probably a longer battery life is the best feature for the everyday consumer, right? And so what's the parallel? What's the analog of something like that in your industry? And reach out to the brand and say, hey, there's actually a lot of value in leaning into this elephant in the room. The next brand is a furniture brand, and they partnered with creator Chantel Carrera to do a living room makeover. This partnership was posted last January, in the mid-January. And so remember, during this time of the year, holidays, December 15th, January 15th, people are at home. People are catching up on projects that they've been wanting to do all year long. And so here we are sitting in September. Now is the time probably to reach out to Article and say, hey, I love this makeover project that you did with Chantal last year. I would love to do something similar. In fact, I have a room, I have the vision, I actually have the pieces on Article already picked out. Here they are, check it out. This is what I'm envisioning. Because remember, makeovers and things like this, it takes time. You can't do something like this in just a weekend. Oftentimes, it's going to require planning. It's going to, again, require approvals from the brand to kind of get this thing, this campaign to come to fruition. And so now is the time to reach out to a brand like this and propose a campaign. By the way, the very last live cohort of my Brand Deal Wizard program is about to kick off. I am never going to teach this live again. So if you want to learn more about how to craft pitches like this, how to actually figure out who do I send this to, right? How do I use tools like LinkedIn to analyze people's job histories to understand, oh yeah, this is the person. How do I find their email addresses, right? How do I set pricing so I don't leave thousands on the table? How do I get the brand? How do I convince the brand to hire me repeatedly, not just one time, right? And so if this is something that you've always wanted to learn, you think, hey, sponsorship should play a much larger role in my business, make sure to go to branddealwizard.com/live, or you can click the link in the description box. Again, this is the very last time I'm ever going to teach this live. And so if you want to be part of this very special cohort, would love to have you. First class is on September 10th. So the next brand is a skincare company, and they partnered with a creator named Liz Weber to do a morning routine and talk about how their product is available at Target. And so the brand is Bioma. And when I was actually looking at their TikTok, I went to see what is the URL in their kind of on their main social profile. And I opened this thing. This is really interesting. It is called, it's bioma.tyb.xyz, which is kind of a weird URL, which is why I clicked on it. And they have this really interesting kind of like membership community. It says there's 26,000 people, 26,000 customers, I guess. And the only way that you can access it is if you buy one of their products, is that you unlock this creamy jelly cleanser token. So this is quite interesting. And so the brand clearly values trying to take their customers or take prospective customers off of social media onto an area where they control. So whether this is tied to an email list or some sort of private membership community, there's this exclusivity element to it, right? And so if your audience, if you were to reach out and pitch this brand, you could say, hey, I actually have a newsletter with 5,000 or 10,000 of my most engaged audience members. I would actually love to do a partnership where I drive people to join your membership or join your newsletter or whatever this thing is, because clearly they value this. This is their primary social link on their handle. And how many followers did they have? They have 865,000 followers on their TikTok. So this is where they're trying to drive everyone. And it seems like it's working because there's 26.2 thousand people in here, super valuable. And so it says that, there's perks. You can connect with other members and there's events and you can earn rewards and all this stuff too. So again, the brand is telling you that this is something that they find value in, right? They find value in getting people over to this community. And so thinking, about how you can drive your audience members to join this is really critical. And again, any creators listening in other niches, other verticals, maybe you could create a private community for a brand like this. It doesn't even have to be super fancy. Maybe you just do it in Slack, or something like that, or a platform like Circle, right? And so again, using your expertise, using your knowledge as a creator to know that people value stuff like this and now you're like a consultant. You come to the brand with this idea, wow, we've never considered doing something like this. And you say, oh, by the way, I will create this program for you. It's going to be 20 grand. And they say, okay, let's engage this creator because not only can they stand this program up for us, but they can create content to drive people to it. The next brand is a gaming company, and they partnered with a creator named Tasalti to share how you don't need a gaming PC to use their service. So the brand is Amazon Luna. And the first thing that I noticed when I watched this video and I looked at this partnership, the first thing that I did was I actually clicked through to Amazon Luna's TikTok. They've got about 17,000 followers. And what is the first thing that you notice? Well, their TikTok kind of sucks, right? They're not getting very many views, and the videos that they are posting they kind of seem like ads. They don't really seem like the type of content that performs well on short form platforms like TikTok, right? And so the thrust of your pitch, were you to reach out to Amazon Luna, you could say, hey, I would actually love to create some content for you to repurpose on your TikTok, Amazon. Like, it's not even to repurpose, it's not even to post on my TikTok. That could be part of the partnership. Of course, you could syndicate it on your platform, but in reality, you're saying, hey, I can deliver 5, 10 short form videos to you every single month that you can repurpose exclusively, right? And oh, by the way, go take a look at my TikTok or my Instagram because that is my portfolio. This is a game-changing strategy, especially for creators who are just starting out. You may not have a lot of influence. You may not have a lot of followers, and you're sitting here thinking like, man, no brand's ever gonna wanna partner with me. I don't have a large following, et cetera, et cetera. But you see with this strategy, that's not what you're pitching. What you're pitching is to serve the brand in a very different way. And now the brand thinks, oh, I understand why I have to pay this creator who only has 3,000 followers. I understand why I have to pay them $5,000 a month because they're generating content for us. Because, hey, we're paying this agency over here $10,000 a month or $15,000 a month, or we have, a team over here who's really burnt out because they can't generate content quickly enough. And this, freelancer, so to speak, is coming in here saying, hey, they can do this for us for a couple grand a month. Let's engage with this person. Let's talk to them. So the next brand is a lighting company, and they partnered with Senpai Gaming to show this incredible before and after when you use their lights. So there's actually a couple really interesting observations about this partnership. First of all, the video is not dedicated. It's not just about the brand's lights. They're actually talking about a streaming device, which is completely different. A lot of brands are concerned about having any other brands mentioned in a video because they think it's going to detract away from their product or their brand. And so being able to show them examples like this, where you can integrate a product that is in a different category to, let's say, a streaming device, that can give a lot of brands comfort that like, oh, it's actually okay. We know that this video is going to do well because there's a lot of interest around this streaming device. And so if we're able to inject our brand or our product into that, that could be a really compelling thing because you get a lot of eyeballs on that video. So that's number one. The second thing is that, one interesting thing that you can do on YouTube now is when you play the video, you can look down here. I don't know if you see this on the timeline. You can actually see the most replayed moments from the video, and look at that. You can see here that one of the most replayed moments is actually the sponsor segment where he was showing the before and after of the lights. Watch this. See that? So it's the before and the after. So you can, this is further evidence. You're not even this creator, and you can see the most replayed moments here. And you can send that to the brand. You can screenshot it and be like, look, right? A lot of people are really interested in this type of thing, right? Another thing, too, that I was noticing as I scrolled down into the comments section, and one of the top comments here is before and after lighting. Absolutely amazing. It even changed the top you were wearing. Wow, what a set of lights that is. It's a joke, obviously, but like one thing that you can do is go and mine the comments section of other partnerships that they've done, and you can actually identify like things that people were saying, oh, I wish you talked about that thing more, or oh, I really love this. This is a really cool feature. I wish you would have, maybe talked about that a bit more. And so when you reach out to Aperture, which is the brand. You can say, hey, this video that you did with Senpai Gaming was amazing. I would love to do a before and after. I would love to do XYZ. I've got these other ideas. Or, oh, I'm going to be talking about this really new hot piece of tech that I would love to integrate your content into. And so anyone, or your product into, and so anyone here, other niches, again, you can apply these same ideas to other brands in your industry. Reach out and say, hey, let me integrate your product into this really newsworthy video that I'm about to make, and they might get very excited about that. The next brand is actually a threefer. It's 3 brands. It's 2 apps and a vitamin company. We were doing some research, actually on a podcast this time. These brands collaborated with the Unplanned podcast. And so the brands are ZocDoc, which is an app, Nutrafol, vitamin company, and Rocket Money. The last one I wanted to focus on, Rocket Money, and they say in the description box here, cancel your unwanted subscriptions by going to rocketmoney.com/unplanned. And so here, if you've seen this app, it basically is like, okay, we all sign up for all these subscriptions, right? Like Netflix and, all these things we don't even like remember that we signed up for. And so what this app does is they help you save money, right? Go in and see what are the things that I may not be using anymore, and we can cancel those subscriptions. And so where does your mind instantly go here, right? We're in September, we're pitching brands a couple months out. New Year's resolutions, again, right? People wanting to budget, save money, save up for a large purchase, this type of thing. I wanted to talk about podcast a bit because I know I talk a lot about kind of social media partnerships on this channel, and I get questions a lot of like, do your strategies work for newsletters or for podcasts or for private communities or whatever it is? And the answer is 100%. The fundamentals work regardless of where you built up your influence. Podcasts are an interesting thing because this format is unlike a lot of other sponsorship formats because you'll almost never see multiple brands sponsoring a single Instagram post or sponsoring, a single like normal YouTube video. But in a long form podcast, it's pretty normal to have 3 to 5 sponsors. Oftentimes, if you listen to podcasts, you probably have heard these things, right? But the critical thing here is that you almost always will want to have sponsors that don't conflict with each other, right? So you don't want to have like multiple, finance apps or multiple vitamin companies or whatever, unless you're like a really extraordinary creator and you can dictate those terms. Then you're going to want to ensure that you're not forging those relationships and potentially angering the partners. But this is a really, really important observation, which is that a lot of creators are nervous to like, oh man, inserting 3 sponsors into my podcast or something. That my audience is going to hate me. But you have to understand what is the viewer or the listening behavior or the expectation. People are pretty used to this, right? And so what would it mean to actually, maybe you're only doing 1 podcast read in an hour-long podcast. What would it mean for you to actually double or maybe even triple the inventory, triple the amount of reads that you're doing? Would that actually triple your sponsorship revenue? Right? And so I want you to pause here and maybe just do a mental check here. Maybe have a shift here that like, oh, maybe that's actually okay. Maybe people won't actually care about that because it's totally reasonable to want to derive an income from the massive amounts of free content that you're putting out there, right? Sorry, I'm going to go on a little tirade here, but it's like, look, like what percentage of the amount of organic content that you put out on a monthly basis is sponsored? Probably 5%, less, I don't know, 10%, whatever it is, right? And so the vast majority of the stuff that you're putting out there is free, right? And so it's totally okay to want to make back some money, to like, pay for your editors or, oh, God forbid, have a livelihood, pay your rent, pay your mortgage, pay groceries. That is an okay thing to do, okay? I hope you hear me right now. That is totally okay to do. The next brand is an educational software company, and they partnered with creators The Wads, which they're family vloggers, and they wanted people to know, this brand wanted people to know that you can get 20% off your first year or your first month of IXL, which is the software. And so if I go to their website, analyzing the landing pages of companies that are sponsoring other creators is a goldmine because you can start to see what are the things that they care about, right? You can see how many students use it. They can see how many questions are answered and counting, trusted by this many teachers, this type of thing. So let's say, for example, that you're a homeschooling creator, right? And so maybe you saw this partnership with another creator who doesn't do homeschooling, but you say, hey, you know what? I actually think that my audience or people in my orbit would absolutely love this software for this smaller segment of the market that it doesn't seem like they're trying to target yet, right? A lot of times brands may have never considered, never thought to reach out or try to market to a particular segment, right? But regardless of maybe what industry or what vertical you're in, whatever type of creator you are, if you were to reach out to a company like IXL or a brand in your niche, you could say, hey, have you ever considered targeting this sub-segment? And they may have said either no or, yeah, we actually tried that, a couple of years ago. It didn't work out so well. And then now is your turn to say, oh, why do you think that is? Why do you think it didn't work out? And then they can give you some reasons. You could say, oh, that's actually interesting, but things have changed in the last 3 years. Or here's actually why I don't think that that's right. The approach that you took wasn't actually quite right. Here's some ideas that I have. Of course, you're doing this. You're not calling them stupid, right? You're not being like, you're an idiot, like you shouldn't have done that way. It's all constructive. But again, you're going back to this consultant mindset. You're not just a creator who has a platform. You're someone who has deep subject matter expertise in your industry or in your content vertical, right? And so this is where you get on the phone with the brand. You establish the rapport and they think, wow, this is not just another creator. We need to engage this person further and maybe we could pay them. I know you're itching to pitch some more brands, so make sure to click this video right here.